This is The Extra Point, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast, sponsored by your Phoenix Suns.
Let's go racing. It's NASCAR week in the desert. I think for our panel here, it's always NASCAR week. It's always racing week. We have our esteemed producer of The Extra Point, Matt Hippe, who's usually behind the glass, but when it comes to NASCAR, the opinions, they're hot takes, aren't they?
Yeah, one of the few times I'll get in front of a microphone.
All right, but he's good. He's good. I think he's got a bright future ahead. Devon Henry, who's been on our very airwaves for about 10 years, but good to see you in studio in person.
Yeah, good to be here. Shiny little studio. First time being here. Nice and cozy in here. See why y'all like it.
We do, and it's nice to have you here. I think we should make this at least a yearly or maybe a twice-a-year deal with the NASCAR races. And then Cole Cusumano from the Arizona Republic, talking all things racing. How would you describe this week leading up to what's on the line in Phoenix?
I would say the stage is set for a phenomenal championship race. We got 4 drivers in here that are the best of the best in the world in stock car racing. Phoenix itself is a phenomenal facility. They did that upgrade and renovations back in 2019, but it's just such a great race weekend, and so excited to kick things off here.
All right, so take me through what was happening at halftime of the Cardinal game yesterday, because we were putting together the post-game show. Matt was putting together the post-game show, and all of a sudden he just kind of got in this like the NASCAR trance that he gets in, and it's like, dude, what is happening? And it was there were a lot of rules. So which rules were broken? Which rules were upheld? And was it collusion?
Yeah, so that was the 27 minutes after the race to decide whether it was Bell or Byron who got the last spot. But I think before that, you have to go back probably the last 20 laps or so, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I was kind of doing a lot at the time, trying to keep an eye on this. Mm-hmm. It basically starts with Byron, whose car is fading near the end of the race. And as I keep watching, I keep looking, and the 3 and the 1 are just too wide behind him the whole time. And after a few laps, I realized that there's just this whole blockade behind them. And then looking at the points, realizing where he and Bell are in relation to each other. And then it was the last lap, Bubba Wallace starts falling back. And then all of a sudden, Bell is going by him to get the 1 point that he needs to get back up to get in the championship for. And as he's going by Bubba Wallace, who's not a teammate, but kind of a teammate, and they're both Toyota drivers, it looks like Wallace clips him, Bell gets up into the wall, and he rides the wall like the Hail Melon we saw Ross Chastain do 2 years ago that made all of those headlines. He and Byron finish the race tied. Am I still on track on all this?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You got it.
So then we get to, that's...
Cardinals
the race
got a
ends.
3 and out,
yes.
forced a punt.
Yes. So they end the race tied.
You have an old chapter bookmark.
Yeah. So,
by the way, we need cars in here next time.
Yes.
We all have Hot Wheels, right?
Yes, exactly.
I've got 2 of them on my desk. I should have brought them. But yeah, so they finished the race tied, Byron and Bell. Bell gets the tiebreaker based on wins throughout the season. Is that what the tiebreaker was?
Wins and highest finish in that round.
Highest finish in that round. So Bell got that. But then 20 minutes of indecision of waiting to find out if they were going to let that stand. Ultimately, they didn't. Bell gets penalized. Byron moves up, and he advances. There's a whole lot to dig into with that whole scenario. That was my best simplification of how things unfolded there.
Let's dig. I mean, is this a fair judgment here? Did anybody get hosed, and is Michael Jordan behind the whole thing?
But I bet he wishes. He already had Tyler Reddick in, so I think he's okay with that. But can you guys imagine? Let's go here to Dodgers. You're a Mets fan, Cole.
That's
Dodgers,
right.
Mets.
Yeah.
Let's say it's Game 7 of the NLCS. Imagine bottom of the ninth. We have a walk-off home run, but there might have been fan interference. So we're going to sit here for a half hour and figure out who's going to the World Series.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me. I'm like, oh, my gosh, we have to sit here and wait. Granted, yes, this is something that NASCAR wanted to ban, because if drivers could run that outside wall for 500 laps, they probably would. Someone retweeted, it was like if Chastain could have kept up that speed he did 2 years ago, he would have lapped the field 50 times with how fast they were going.
How much
fuel
fuel would he have gone through? And
that's true.
Okay, is that move's completely illegal, right? I'm kind of like that. Yeah, this is like NASCAR for dummies for me, so I might ask some questions like that.
Please do.
Yes.
But so how similar was what he did 2 years ago, crazy move, to what was happening yesterday before we just started looking through the rule book for 30
Well, that
minutes.
was kind of the gray area of it. The Bubba Wallace involvement almost made it look like it was a racing incident, that it sent him up into the wall. And I don't know if it was intentional. I don't know if it was planned. But as soon as he got in the wall, he kept it floored the same way Chastain did. So that was what NASCAR ultimately decided. It's too similar, and we can't let that stand.
I think that's where the penalization came in, is because, yes, it's one thing to get up into the wall and then to back it off, but he floored it clearly. You see him going across the start-finish line to get that position to match Byron for that final spot. So I think you alluded to the other stuff there, the two Chevrolets blocking behind Byron, obviously Bubba Wallace kind of hanging back in that final lap. But I think the determining factor was obviously that wall ride, the half the hail melon, or as Devon coined it, the fail melon earlier.
Yes.
So that's what did it for me. I think that was the right call on NASCAR's part.
I think they had to. Did you think it was intentional? Do you think him getting up in the wall? Because Bell's argument after the race was it wasn't the same thing. I didn't enter the corner the same way Chastain did.
I think it was, only because just looking at his face on pit road, waiting for the decision, he just looked pretty guilty, in my opinion. I think it was intentional. Yes, I do. And I think he knew that, and that's why he was kind of like, had a little bit of a scared look in his face on pit road.
If it was, the Toyotas did a lot better job of coding their messaging over the radio than the Chevys did.
Okay, so how does that work? Like, are y'all in the weeds enough where you will go back and like listen to the pit crews and see what they say, and is there like code words? Like how does this whole deal work, and what do I need to go look for on Twitter right now?
They needed more code words. Yeah, it was pretty direct what they were talking about.
The Chevys were pretty blatant. I mean, so Byron races for Hendrick Motorsports. Behind him, you've got Austin Dillon in a Richard Childress car, and then you've got Ross Chastain in Trackhouse Racing. These are all separate teams theoretically, but they all race Chevrolets. So they're all under that Chevy manufacturer. And the conversations between, you can hear the conversations between the driver, the crew chief, and the spotter who's up top. And the conversation, I think it was the 3 team talking about, I don't remember exactly what it was, but like he was asking if the one car, if Ross Chastain knew the deal of what they were trying to do. They were giving him they were giving Austin Dillon, who's out of the playoffs, not a teammate of William Byron, points updates on where Byron was, and basically telling him what they needed to do, and then Dillon responding back, does the one know the deal?
Was it like code words like the wolf is outside the gate?
No, they should.
Cole Cusumano will be doing interviews afterwards. We should go talk to him.
Yeah, they should have, but no, it was about the same way that we are talking about it right now, using almost the same language. They didn't try to hide it even a little bit. Which the 3 team has a history of that going back to Richmond.
Are they talking between like okay, they didn't try to hide it. So basically, who was playing against who? Because there's that's the gray area for me. I mean, you have all these different teams. Is this like the ultimate game of like Survivor here? And is there going to be like drivers that change cars in the off season, and based on Sunday's events, all of a sudden there's drama and maybe fights? There
are changes. NASCAR's kind of unique in that, just going back in the middle of the season, you know where drivers are going next year. So it's kind of the offset. It's the unusual part of it. But no, it's and I was trying to think like what do the 3 and the 1 teams have to gain by helping Byron? I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that. I that's what I've been trying to figure out, like why.
Well, the team know, and you look back at some things that have happened. Say, I mean, you look what happened to Parker Retzlaff at Talladega, trying to help someone. Well, not necessarily trying to help, but he's trying to do the best for himself. He was in a low budget car, doing whatever he could. The issue is with NASCAR, I don't even want to say it's an issue, but when you look back at like the 90s or something, everyone raced for themselves. You could have been a teammate. It didn't matter. I'm racing to go get a win. I'm racing to go get a championship. The manufacturers, there's 3 of them, Toyota, Ford, and Chevy. These 3 entities spend so much money in NASCAR to build these cars, to put them in the wind tunnel, to develop these race cars to be the fastest that they can be. The manufacturers have a hold on NASCAR, because if the manufacturers don't exist and they're not investing money in the sport, then there might not be a sport at all. And so when you look at, there's these 3 manufacturers, and there's Hendrick Motorsports, there's Joe Gibbs, there's Team Penske, there's all the different teams. But if you're under the Ford ban, if you're a Ford racing team, Ford as a manufacturer, as an OEM, wants Fords to win. You don't care if it's RFK, you don't care if it's Penske. I want a blue oval in Victory Lane. For Chevy, I want a bow tie in Victory Lane. And so they will find ways. Tie? Yeah, Chevrolet's called a bow tie.
They call it the bow tie.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. To learn. Okay.
Well, welcome to motorsports.
I've been out. I was there for the fight. I was standing next to Joe Gibbs when Jeff Gordon and Clint Boyer's team got into it. That was great.
Nice.
Yeah, I saw Eddie Van Halen. I've been to a lot of NASCAR races. I just never knew it was a bow tie.
Yeah.
And I was here for the fights.
I don't think it was meant to be initially, but that's kind of the moniker it's taken on since then.
So, and then what's Toyota? What's Toyota's little logo?
Ball? I don't know. Something.
Yeah.
What is it? It's like...
Yeah, so you got blue oval, you got bow tie.
You got Toyota.
Toyota.
Okay. Before we leave here, we're going to have to name that.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, so keep going. Sorry, Chevy, the bow tie. So everybody's trying to get in victory lane.
Yeah.
So did that call come from Detroit?
Exactly.
Here's how we're doing this. All of you work together or else.
Yes, because when you look at who had won so far, Joey Logano, a Ford won in Las Vegas. He's in the Championship 4. Homestead Miami Speedway, Tyler Reddick wins. There's a Toyota in the Championship 4. Chevy's going, I need as many bow ties as I can get inside that Championship 4. How are we going to do that? Well, I need the other. So this is kind of how I allude to. For anyone who doesn't know the Championship 4. If you've ever seen the movie Cars.
Many times.
Many a times for you with your kiddos,
You've been
right?
on the ride in Disneyland, by the way?
Oh, I love that ride
get to
so
that
much.
later.
The music, beautiful.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
if you look at the last race in there, the 3 cars are tied in points. They're going to go race for the it's the same thing. We have 4 cars tied in points. Whoever finishes best at Phoenix wins. The issue is there's 36 other cars on track, and they all have Chevrolet alliances or Ford alliances or Toyota alliances. And so the OEMs, the manufacturers, are inputting so much money into NASCAR, into these teams. If you were to say, no, I don't want to help William Byron, how he does has no bearing on my life, on my team's life, nothing. They go, that's cool. We're going to stop supporting you. There's your money.
That'll change things.
Exactly.
So what did the post-game sound? I mean, because I heard a little bit of it, and it sounded very corporate. It sounded nobody wanted to say anything. Did we get any information? Were you listening in on pit row? Did you hear? Did anybody let anything slip?
Honestly, not that I saw. There was a lot of just uncertainty and stuff like that. I mean, I saw something earlier this morning from Jeff Gordon. He was more or less just on pit road, waiting for a decision, having his own opinions on what happened between the Chevrolet competitors and the Toyota competitors. But he was just, waiting for a decision. Same thing with guys like William Byron. There's not much you can do in that scenario besides just leave it up to the sanctioning body, NASCAR, to decide what's right and what's wrong and who's going to advance to the final round. But I really didn't see anything controversial on my end as far as any comments that were made, whether it be via team owners or crew members. The only thing I did see was that one of the NASCAR's leading reporters, Bob Pockris, was trying to get a comment from Joe Gibbs, and he just flat out would not respond to him, which is it's kind of uncharacteristic because Joe Gibbs, if you ever met him or been around him, he's a very vocal guy, a very happy-go-lucky guy, but he was not having it. So definitely not very happy on the JGR Toyota front last night.
That's my Joe Gibbs story. There was the fight in the pits, and I'm looking at the Jumbotron out at Phoenix Raceway. What was that, 2014, 2015? It was when Jeff Gordon passed Earnhardt and went with the flag. But so there's a fight, and I'm watching it, and this guy comes up and is next to me watching it. I'm like, oh, it's Joe Gibbs. Hey, we're just watching a fight on the big screen. Big picture, is this good for the sport, or is this something that's takes too long to understand? Drama's good. I'm a big believer in there's no such thing as bad publicity. So good or bad? What do we think?
I think there's a lot of fans who will say, really, it comes down to the format of the playoff system, the way it is. And there's a lot of fans who are not a fan of the current setup the way it is. It's complicated. It's hard for new people to understand. Old fans don't even like it very much. It does create excitement. It does create headlines if that's the goal. It may take away. You certainly have a day like today where you're questioning the integrity of, did Byron really race his way into the 4 or into the championship 4, or was he? Did he get too much of an assist? It's a tough discussion to have, and I don't think there's many NASCAR fans who have been watching the sport for a long time who saw yesterday's race and go, yeah, that's how I want this to go.
All right, so that's the question here. Does Byron belong in the top 4?
Well, yeah, Devon.
You two both spoke. I didn't say anything.
Sorry.
No, I'll take it. I'll take it. It's all mine. I thought about that too. I was like, so who's deserving of this? First of all, it's Kyle Larson because he has the most wins of anyone. He's been the best driver this year, no doubt. He didn't do great in the round of 8. Here's the issue. If it wasn't William Byron, if it was Kyle Larson fading backwards, the collusion, quote unquote, still happens. If it's not Christopher Bell, if it's another Toyota, if it's Denny Hamlin in the same position, there's still going to be the collusion, quote unquote. So I look back and I'm like, does it matter who deserves to be in? Because no matter the scenario, we would have had something potentially that was going to look sketchy like this. A near black eye, if you will, to NASCAR saying, is this the integrity of the sport? Well, it doesn't matter if it's the 24, the 48, the 11, the 20. If there was a manufacturer who was close to making it and they had the ability to change the outcome of the race, they were going to do it. And it's not like we can pick like Toyota was more likely to do it. You see Bubba Wallace went so far backwards, or, Chevy built a blockade. Ford would have done the same thing. There's no doubt in my mind that any of the manufacturers would have done something to get their car into the Championship 4, which is where the money comes from, the Owner Points Championship. You get money for your team. You get people hopefully going out and buying a Mustang or buying a Camaro or whatever when your car goes out and wins a championship.
And the manufacturer point standings too.
Exactly.
But I mean, to your point, it was very clear after that blockade goes on for 15, 20 laps, and then all of a sudden the 23 is dropping back. It's clear all of these teams, they had some sort of plan in place. They knew that if there was a move to be made or something to get other cars involved to help, that they were going to do it. And I mean, I can't blame a team for doing that for the position they're in. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's any competitive edge, and there's no written rule against it as far I mean, that's also one of the beautiful things about NASCAR, and I think its longest fans can appreciate the whole if you're not cheating, you're not trying idea, where it's only cheating once you get caught and if there's a rule written against it. Otherwise it's just innovation. And is it innovation in how you're using the points? I don't know. I don't think it applies in this same scenario.
Cole, did you go out and buy a Mustang after this, or was there a?
I have a Mustang.
You already had it.
Oh,
you already had it. Mark, we'll take
that one out.
We'll take you to the parking lot, Mark. We'll show you, man. We'll show you.
It works, and that's why it's worth it to these manufacturers to put the money into it.
Full transparency, it was because of NASCAR. It works. It works.
Yes.
The model works. But on William Byron, though, I do agree with you guys. I think the situation remains the same, whether it's Hamlin or Larson in that position, even Chase Elliott. But I do think that William Byron is a deserving driver in this championship 4, because you look at his body of work in the playoffs, and specifically the last 6 races, he has finishes of 6th or better in 6 straight races now. He's finished top 10 in 7 of 9 races in the playoffs. He was the next best driver in the postseason next to Christopher Bell. So it's a shame it came down to those 2 drivers fighting for that last spot, because both are really deserving. And even as you mentioned, Devon, having the winningest driver in 2024, Kyle Larson, one of our Scottsdale residents in Arizona, actually, not in the championship 4. It's a bit of a blemish, in my opinion, on the postseason format. Yeah. I think that's the general consensus from a lot of NASCAR fans. But I do think that William Byron is a deserving driver in this Final 4.
So will there be more rules written now after what we saw?
I don't know. I don't know if any changes come from it. I think NASCAR likes the point system as it is, the format. As much as a lot of fans will complain about it, I think they like the way it is. It can create headlines. It gives plenty of people something to talk about. So I don't see any major rule changes. I mean, we may see a penalty. I think NASCAR said today they're investigating the whole blockade deal, so we'll see what happens. It's entirely possible that Byron isn't in the Final 4 when they come here. I don't know if that's likely, but it certainly could be possible. I don't want them to change it again.
So take us down that rabbit hole. What's that look like?
Ooh. I don't know. I don't know if you can put Bell in, because then he hasn't. I mean, can't move Larson.
Where did Bell finish in points? Because he finished last car 1 lap down.
Bell
because that was the disqualification. He finished 30 something. I don't remember what the number was, or 22nd. So was that enough for someone else to pass him? And now Bobby Allison is in the championship 4 this weekend. I don't know.
I think that opens up too much of a door. Although there is a precedent for it. What was it? 20.
Oh yeah, Jeff Gordon.
I
saw the memes.
Jeff Gordon getting the
13th driver.
Yeah, the 13th driver back when it was just 12. I mean, they've done it before, and I don't think you can have a championship 5. I think that just makes a mockery of. I mean, they have a hard enough time as it is for people accepting the system as legitimate, and I think if you do that, you start changing things after the fact. It's already standing on weak legs, and that's just going to cut the legs out from under it.
Are the rules in NASCAR? Is it like trying to get an act of Congress passed? Like how's this whole thing play out? I still like the Chastain move. I'm like, why is that illegal? That was awesome.
It's safety concerns. I understand why it's illegal.
Well, isn't just like a race safety concerns? Like
the real reason is because if every driver could do it, every driver would do it. Because
what would that look like?
It would look wild. I'll tell you that right now. It would look like a video game in real life.
Races would be a lot shorter though if they're doing it early.
That's true as well.
It'll be a last lap thing. You get every car. But then it doesn't work. If everyone's doing it, it's not an advantage.
So let's take the rule away. Then we're fine. Because everyone likes to go around.
That would be something.
If you keep adding, are you going to keep adding rules every other year based on?
Rulebook's about that big right now.
Is
we got room. We got room.
Yeah. NASCAR is one of the few sports too that is flexible with mid-season rule changes too. You see something happen one week, the very next week there's a new rule regulating, whatever that thing may have been. I mean, we see body changes all the time with.
We had the tire rule this year where they changed where you could have multiple tire compounds, which changes how the car runs throughout the race. That was a one race thing during a regular season. It's almost like if you're in the NBA and they go, we made the basketball 1 inch larger for today. We're gonna see if it works or not. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think it's a bad thing because I do think there's so many variables with a race car and the different tracks and all of that like trying different things, and if there's something that could make things better, it's worth trying and giving it a shot. It's kind of a unique thing to NASCAR though of the way things can change so quickly.
But to answer your question, Mark, yes, NASCAR basically says the sanctioning body says if we want to change it next week, be ready, boys.
Yeah.
So do we anticipate anything changing before the championship race?
I will note there is already a rule on this, the 100% rule. You're supposed to give 100% effort.
But if you're not in the top 4, you're just out in Scottsdale and just kind of show up on race day and you're like, all right, let's do this. We got the porta potty thing in here ready to go. Like, what's the incentive to race hard on Sunday if you're not racing for a championship?
Well, Ross Chastain went out there and won the race last November. He was not in the championship before. But he's somebody that wants to be a disruptor, and no matter what, if you're a competitor, you're racing to win. You're competing to win. So I think that's the incentive to going out there and beating, quote unquote, the best of the best in those 4 drivers competing for the championship. So that's my opinion.
And if you're halfway through the race and around 30th, your incentive is vacation starts the faster I get to the checkered flag.
Let's get out here in Cancun. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
I think sponsors too have bonus incentives on finishing places, stuff like that. And to your point of Chastain. Racing hard last year, it gave us one of the best radio conversations between Blaney and his team where how much it frustrated him. If you ever want to listen to great entertainment, just listen to Ryan Blaney's radio chatter during a race. I mean, that guy sounds like me on the I-10 at 5:30.
Scenarios this week. Who could be the disruptor? Who do we predict to hoist the championship trophy and drink 9 beers and start doing amazing interviews? Hopefully with Matt and all of I guess both. Y'all all be in pit row, right?
I'm in. Oh yeah, we'll be there.
Did they hand y'all any of the suds, or is that forbidden?
Man,
how's that'll work?
They feed me dinner and dessert. I'll take it. I'm in. I'm done.
Was it Keselowski one year who was just like, we're going drinking? What is that? Is it still like that?
That was what 2012.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's like that's when I was doing a lot of NASCAR. These days I just follow y'all. But I mean, so seriously, what does it look like, assuming we know our championship 4, and who could play the role of the disruptor?
So the 4 who are in, it is very interesting. You've got Logano, who won the race and the championship here 2 years ago. Blaney, his teammate, who won the championship here last year. Reddick, who led most of the spring race, maybe should have won that. And then Byron, who did win the spring race 2 years ago. So any one of these 4 drivers can go out and win this race. Logano has the weird even year thing working for him. He's been in the championship since they've had this format in 2014. Every other year, every even year, Logano's been in the championship for, and he won it in 18, won it in 22. Blaney, if you want to look at more reflecting of last year, second at Homestead, won in Martinsville, came here, won the championship. This round, he was second at Homestead, won in Martinsville, and now coming back maybe to win 2 in a row. But I think I put my money on Reddick. I just feel like that team, I think he can do it just watching the way he raced here. And I think there's something about that Michael Jordan championship spirit that I don't think you can discount. Just that vibe of having someone like him sitting in your pit box and having a championship right in front of you. I mean, there's a lot of factors that are out of their control, but I think if it comes down to pure will and ability, I think I would put my money on them.
If Michael Jordan wins the championship, how big of a story is this going to be? That it's going to
TMZ, Sports Center, any outlet.
Yeah,
NASCAR will explode.
Yeah,
bottom line.
NASCAR will do anything to get Michael Jordan and put his face on a championship.
like a blockade. Will they have another blockade?
Yeah, let's do
others. Yeah,
I mean, he's been in almost every race in the playoffs. I think best case scenario for NASCAR is Michael Jordan hoisting the Bill France Cup.
Yep.
That's best case scenario for NASCAR because that explodes everything. There's been a few black eyes this year, guys. Like, I'm not going to ignore it. Like, we've had some really strange sequences happen this year.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of growth this year, too. There's been a lot of eyeballs. We're seeing even the Xfinity Series gaining viewership. We see a lot more interest in NASCAR. Pitbull's doing his job to help grow the sport, and we'll be doing a concert at the Daytona 500 in February. If Michael Jordan wins this championship, that's another thing to plaster as a win for NASCAR this year to continue growing the sport.
And that brings in the whole NBA realm, because any NBA fan is going to be interested to see, oh, wow, Michael Jordan's team just won a NASCAR championship. That's at least going to pique their interest, and they're going to look more into that, especially with the way Reddick got into the four at Homestead. Like that. I mean, that was such a Michael Jordan type moment.
He's had many of those this whole season, and it really, I think that's what speaks to this 45 team and their strengths in this championship race, is that there's been one big moment after another they've been able to execute. There was the regular season championship. He won it by 1 point over Kyle Larson with the stomach bug, no less.
Very Jordan-esque.
Obviously, there was the Homestead race where he passed Blaney on the final lap, on the final turn, to get that win and steal the spot in the championship from him. And there was also at the Roval where he got in that wreck early on in the race. They bent a tie rod, and they were able to come back and rally to make it at points the next round. So they've been on a heater. They've been able to perform big moments, and I think like you guys all said, if MJ is able to lift that Bill France Cup, it's going to be big things for the sport.
Yeah.
But Willie, what do the other scenarios look like here? And if it comes down, I mean, if Michael Jordan is this close to hoisting the championship trophy and doesn't get there, I mean, I almost think that's bigger news, because all he did was win championships. He can't win a championship, and then is he gonna come back even more determined next year? That seems like a pretty good storyline for NASCAR.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
It's kind of the position they were in, the last couple of years. Every year, 23-11, you've seen get a little bit better incrementally. They've gotten, they've improved getting cars into the playoffs first. Now getting Reddick into the championship four. I think it's only a matter of time. If it's not this year, they will win one.
I agree. And
you guys think Reddick?
Reddick's so talented too. He's a 2-time Xfinity Series champion. He's finally getting those wins in the Cup Series. He's been able to dominate, lead a bunch of laps, and I think he has a great shot. But I mean, it's going to be tough to beat those Penske Fords because they've gone back-to-back now in the next-gen era at Phoenix. Logano, we saw what he did in 2022. He won the first race in the round of 8 like he did this year. He won the championship. Same thing with Blaney, like you said. He finished second at Homestead, won at Martinsville, won at Phoenix. And then you look at Blaney's stats at Phoenix, the last 6 races he's finished top 5. He has 3 runner-ups in that span, too. So I think the ball's in his court. He's the defending champion. I think right now he's my pick to win the championship come Sunday.
Logano is?
Blaney.
I think winning Vegas is a huge advantage. And Logano said after that race, these next 2 weeks don't matter. Like, we're focusing on Phoenix. And it's showed the last 2 races. Logano's been non-existent. So who knows what that 22 has been cooking up for this week. Though they could come out red hot, win the pole, and lead every lap. I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Is that by design, being non-existent? Like maybe just trying to get more information? Like what's going on inside the garage?
In some ways, I mean, not spending time in the simulator for Homestead or Martinsville. I don't even know if they do simulators for those 2 tracks anyway. But just the focus of the team, prepping the cars. That they instead of spending 3 days on their Homestead car, they spend 2 days and put a little extra work into what they're going to send out here for Phoenix.
So you haven't given a prediction on who wins yet at Phoenix. But
I would also,
what wins? Who wins and what wins and why?
The manufacturer, what wins?
Yeah. Oh, we already went over that. yes.
Well, Ford's got the best shot. They got 50-50 odds.
I would also like to add to your point, though, about holding off or whatever for those 2 weeks. I compare it kind of like you talk to high school or college football coaches who have that bye week and going into the playoffs, right? Well, for Logano, it's like he just went on 2 bye weeks.
Yeah.
If you believe in momentum, you don't want 2 bye weeks, right? You talk to coaches, they're like, I want to play every dang week. So I think that's another aspect of if you believe in momentum or not. But I don't know. Tyler Reddick's been so good. As you mentioned, Cole, he probably should have won that race back in spring. I think one headline that we're missing, though, is this the 40th anniversary of Hendrick Motorsports.
Yes, sir.
To see William Byron become, I think it's the 4th or 5th driver in NASCAR history to win the Daytona 500 and the championship in the same year. near to no one has ever done that before. So that'd be another massive headline in Victory Lane, a track that really hadn't had a ton of success at until this win back in spring. But I think as long as the championship has been here, we've never had someone sweep Phoenix in one year either.
Yeah.
And one guy who I think no one's looking at because second half of the year sucked quite frankly for him, but a winner in 2021 in March, Martin Truex Jr.'s last race.
Great point.
Yeah.
I remember when he was a young pup.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Just trying to build it, trying to make it.
Interesting. Yeah. So how much does the experience of coming to Phoenix and winning, despite all the rule changes since then, how much do you think that plays into being able to get it done on Championship Sunday?
I think maybe not a ton, because when I look back at who's won this championship in past years, Kyle Larson in 2021 was not someone who we really thought was someone who's really, really good at Phoenix, but he went on that wicked 2020, 2021 on dirt, on asphalt, whatever. First champion here, Chase Elliott, hadn't won a race at Phoenix, but had won poles and got a penalty earlier that year and went to the back. But he showed speed, broke through and won. Ryan Blaney last year, another guy who had not won here before, but was fast, had poles, put it together, and won. And I'm looking at Reddick like that, right? Has the momentum at Phoenix Raceway, hasn't won here yet. Is this where you break through and win that championship? Almost, basically every champion but Logano has been someone who has not won at Phoenix yet, had shown speed, and finally put it all together.
Yep. It's amazing every year the championship four, just how many laps those four are the top 5 cars.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, those 4 teams have so much more at stake than anybody else there. You can just tell the difference in the effort and just the focus that they've put on the race.
Is there a difference in strategy of how they're going to race that we're going to notice with the 4 of them? I mean, do you try to pit earlier? Do you try to pit later? What's something to watch as people are flipping this on?
So I think it's all very situational, depending on how the cautions fly, how much green flag racing there is. But I think that's one area where Logano might have the upper hand over the other 3 guys, is because Paul Wolfe atop the pit box, he is a multi-time champion in the Cup Series. He's one of the best strategists in the garage area. And if this thing gets pretty crazy where you're having these long green flag runs and you have to make green flag pit stops, then that could give them the advantage. And just to go back to what you said earlier, does the experience and the speed play a factor? I think it definitely does, but I think it more so comes down to the team aspect of things. Can you execute on pit road? That's how we saw Kyle Larson and the 5 team win the championship in 2021 with that final pit stop of the day. How sound is the crew chief on top of the box with the strategy calls? So I think it all comes down to how these teams collectively handle the race and how they can execute the entire thing for 312 laps.
What are the biggest questions that you want to get answered before the championship race? As the drivers will talk, who do you want to hear from? What are sort of the sexy storylines headed into this one where you know when this driver talks or this crew chief talks, I'm all ears?
Well, for me, it was so when the playoffs started, Blaney's media day sound, I listened to that, and he said something that just stuck out to me, that like getting the first championship was almost like getting a taste of the forbidden fruit. But at the same time, then when he was here in September, I talked to him, kind of about that idea, and he's like, I didn't even really know what to expect and how it would feel to win a championship, and I almost want a second one more than I wanted a first one now that I've tasted it, and I want to get that again. So I want to know how much more that feeling has ramped up, with the way the disappointment at Homestead for not winning, and then he does win at Martinsville. Now he's back and he has a chance to go back to back. I want to know just how bad he really wants it and feels it this time, and just what his expectations are for feeling. If you get to win it 2 in a row, winning 1 is one thing, but winning 2 in a row, that takes you into a whole different level of, when it comes to the history books and where your name is written.
What would that, who's in that level? Like, who's in that class when you call roll?
2 in a row? I think Earnhardt did it. Johnson did 5 in a row. So no one's ever gonna get close to that again.
It's hard to win
the biggest
2.
names. It's hard to win 1. To win 2 ever, and then to do it in back-to-back years is something that we haven't seen it since Johnson did it, right?
Has to be,
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's my big thing. I want to know where Blaney's mind is at and how badly he wants it.
So what about for y'all? Either patrolling the pits on Sunday, what will you be watching, or just leading up to it? What are some of the conversations or interviews that you're most looking forward to?
I'm really curious to see how William Byron tackles this weekend. I know we haven't spoken a whole lot about him today, and I think it's because he's being overlooked by the Penske guys and obviously MJ and Tyler Reddick. But they have done such a good job this year staying in the hunt. They got those 3 wins early in the season, and they've kind of had their lulls where I feel like they were kind of maybe prepping for the postseason. So I want to see, obviously we've seen that the results pan out now in these opening few rounds. I want to know what experience he got from that first championship 4 appearance last year, what he's going to use to apply it into this race. And I just want to hear him speak on his confidence and his composure, because this is a driver that, he's still very young in age in the Cup Series. And what we've seen from this driver in the last few weeks, the postseason, he's been very composed, very stoic, and I think that's a very important trait to have for a potential future champion in the Cup Series.
I'll throw a wicked curveball out there. Denny Hamlin. This is a guy who has done everything but win, and now has a shot to win as an owner, holding hands with Michael Jordan.
Will
At
they
the
be
same
actually
time,
holding hands?
Potentially.
Yeah.
They're going to be holding bodies, hugging the victory lane at the very least, right? You'd hope so. But another thing lost that's happening right now is the fact that Denny Hamlin's team is suing NASCAR.
Yeah.
What happens if that team wins the championship in the middle of a court case?
What does happen?
I don't even know.
Could it happen before Championship Sunday?
Nah, it's not going. Well,
No.
there's a hearing this week that's not really going to decide anything. But in essence, here we have a guy who's done everything but win a championship, got eliminated in the last round. One of the drivers that he handpicked has a shot to go and win during a time that he's doing something unprecedented in the sport. So I'm really curious what is going to be in Denny's Hamlin mind, if he is willing to talk this weekend.
Yeah.
But what is he going to say, whether it's to Tyler Reddick about winning a championship or battling NASCAR and for a championship and the other championship for competitors? I'm interested to hear if he speaks this weekend. What does Denny Hamlin have to say?
I would imagine on a personal level, and just the vibe I've gotten from him, the way he's talked about his team and himself on his podcast in the past, obviously he would be happy as a team owner. He would be thrilled to see Reddick win, but I think he would also be a little bit salty.
He was devastated at Homestead.
Yeah, to see another driver, one of his own drivers, get a championship before he does. I think that would definitely eat at him a little bit.
Okay, so he doesn't want to see his own guy. That's
not that he
these.
doesn't want to. Obviously, he would want to, but I think that's going to be one of those things that, exactly, what are we doing wrong? Why haven't we been able to do it? Because, like you said, he's done everything but win a championship. I mean, over the past 2 decades, he's one of the best drivers. He's top 10. Is he top 10 in wins now? Has he
I think so.
yet?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If not, he's close. He's top 12 at the very, very lowest.
What do we think will happen with the lawsuit?
I could see nothing happening.
Yeah.
I could see them figure it out outside of court, which I think is probably what would be best for both of them.
Yeah.
I think what the biggest thing right now is you have Front Row Motorsports, who's this lower budget team. This is someone who I've heard numerous times through a few different sources. Bob Jenkins, the owner of that team, spends millions out of his own pocket to keep that race team going because he loves what he's doing.
He just wants to be racing.
He's not making money. He's on a 7-figure deficit every single year. And so then you have Michael Jordan putting on pressure. I'm curious to see if they decide to do something in court. I don't even know how they would work out a change in the charter agreement, yada, yada, yada. I think we're going to see something change, but first, NASCAR has to be open to it because that's what it sounds like from the teams. NASCAR is not open to these changes. NASCAR says, here's how we're going to run our organization. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. We own this organization. This is not a shareholder agreement here. Yeah. We own this place. Yeah. If you don't like the rules, go find somewhere else to play.
Yeah. It's so unique. I mean, we've seen antitrust lawsuits in pretty much every major sports league, but it's usually from an outside force that's challenging them, from a media company or a competing league that wants to get in. This is essentially the Phoenix Suns suing the NBA. Is kind of the way this breaks down, and
there's no players union. How the players union what was negotiating revenue and whatnot. There's no union or anything like that.
Yeah, there's no team union or anything like that. They all negotiate individually, each team, which is why you've got these 2 holdouts, and we'll get into the whole charter agreement, then that's a whole other podcast on its own. But
I like talking about NASCAR rules. We should do this once a week, get together and talk about the rules.
New rule this week. Here we go.
It's just so complicated, which is I think one of the beautiful things about it, which I mean it's a macro look at kind of what a race car is. A race car is so complicated. There's so much that goes into it from an engineering and physics perspective, and then the whole business side, and then you look at a larger viewpoint at the sport itself. It's so complicated. There's so much that goes into it, which is part of what makes it so interesting and so fun to follow, because there's so many different moving parts all the time, and things are always adjusting and reacting, and then you get new technologies that come in, and then how are those implemented, and it's just And it's just one of the things that I love about it.
Well, it's. I mean, you can feel the love from the three of you. So let's talk about a race day. What do you love about race day? Do you get there early? Is there a little spot you go? Like, how do you watch the race? What's your favorite thing about race day, especially the championship race day?
When I'm here, championship race day, I show up as early as I can, mainly to beat the traffic, to get out there.
Oh, yeah. I see that bridge when I go up top. I'm like, ooh, I don't want to be in there right now, man.
Yes. So I try to get there as early as I can. Before the race, it's kind of just walking through the garage, just the vibes. You can feel the energy of it, and the cars getting fired up here and there, seeing fans and, getting a chance. Another thing to love about the NASCAR is the access the fans can get, the fact that they can walk through a garage area. It's the equivalent of them hanging out in the locker room before a Cardinals game. But just that feeling, and then, the excitement, the build up, and then they fire the cars up, and just that feeling in your chest when they fire, and then the smell of the fuel on the pit road and the sticky stuff they're spraying in the pit stalls. It's got that like sweet smell. It's the sensations that come with it that I just love so much.
I echo those exact same sentiments, honestly. The first thing I do whenever I get out there for Championship Sunday is, you drive over the bridge, and the venue comes into view. It's like an open-facing, just beautiful facility, nestled in the mountains, the Estrella Mountains.
Yeah.
And then you walk into the garage area. The first thing I do is I have my cup of coffee, walk through the garage, just taking all the sights, the sounds. Like you said, you hear the cars getting revved up. You hear the wrenching. You see the team members conversing and going over things for race day. That's what it's all about for me, is just taking in all the sights and sounds, all the inner workings of the sport before the biggest race of the season, basically. And it really is amazing. And you mentioned it there as well, seeing all the fans and their enjoyment they're seeing, walking around the garage area, taking in all the festivities around the track. It really is just such a great experience, and I cannot recommend it for anybody enough.
Matt, will you be there on Thursday for Media Day?
Oh, yeah.
So the three of us are going to be working from Thursday through Sunday. I'm there at the racetrack all dang day. And so for me, I'm doing one-on-ones, I'm doing stories, packages, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so all those days, like, I'm working my butt off. I luckily have someone to chauffeur me back home. I'm on my laptop the whole half-hour drive back home, just trying to do whatever I can. And we show up on Sunday, and I'm like, this is the day where, like, I get to, like, take in the fruits of my labor.
Yeah.
I've been working I've been doing 14-hour days, you guys know, the past like 3 days.
Yep.
Like, I get to sit back and enjoy the race. I keep telling Cole, you gotta get a photo vest one day.
Seriously.
Because I shoot my own video for all my content, and so I gotta go out, get the video for everything, and it lets you go almost anywhere on the inside and outside the track and get to see these vantage points that no one else gets to see.
Yes.
And so you talk about the start of the race. I don't know why, and it's only on the Cup day. When I'm down on pit road and the anthem plays, anthem ends, and I'm like, dude, I am jacked. I am ready to go. I'm like, I'll get in the car right now.
Yes.
Let's get things going. I'm jacked at the end of the national anthem, and they hook up the cars. The flyover comes over. They blow out your eardrums and everything. And I'm like, man, here we go. This is the last time till February we're going to have any action. And, when you work a full year like me and Cole do, doing NASCAR across the year, and it's like, this is it. I have one more job to do. I got to do a recap at the end of the night. Yep. My 20 jobs are done. I got one more left. Yep. I get to enjoy this moment, go wherever I want in a place that I love with the people that I love, and just have a good time.
And that's the easiest story to write too.
Mm-hmm.
Championship. Everything that led up to it. Here it is. That last one.
Here's who won.
It's so clear. It's easy. The feeling, and I'm sure you know this. The photo holes going up, and those that I especially love the turn one.
Yep.
The wide sweeper, the one sitting there, just watching him come at you and come by, and then that first lap, the feeling of the wind coming up and whipping the sand in your face.
The rubber, the rocks.
Yeah,
I will not be attending after a detached red nut earlier this week. I don't think I need that.
Please do not.
Maybe the spring race.
Yeah, we watch that.
All right, where can we find you guys this week? Where are you going to be posting? How many times are you going to be posting? Is there like a competition between you two to see who can do more articles?
Because we get a great one.
Loser gets a Mustang. Yeah.
Oh, I get his Mustang. No, Cole is the giant when it comes to the written part of NASCAR. What he does for the Arizona Republic and the deep dives that he does, whether it's guys like Kyle Larson living here. You both have done stuff on Kellen Mills when the gas men here. With NASCAR on the 43 car, and then I do a lot of the video stuff. He does a lot of the written stuff. I'm like, if we combine this thing, like, we have a pretty dang wicked story. But no, we don't have any competition. We go out, we have fun. I'll high five him when I go and see him as we're walking. We were sprinting by each other across pit road. Hey. But I'll be on sports360az.com. I'll post everything on my social at Devon Henry 77, whether that's one-on-ones or just sights and sounds at the racetrack, whatever. I love doing the one-on-ones and getting to kind of meet the drivers on a more personal level. Guys like Sheldon Creed, someone who I'll talk to this weekend about him doing stuff with the Friends of Jacqueline Foundation. Back in March, they had a brain tumor survivor at the age of 8 come over and just hang out in the garage and go on pit road. And Sheldon's a cool kid from California, very quiet. And so it's fun to talk off-road trucks and stuff like the charity stuff that he does. So that's the kind of stuff that I always enjoy doing. You won't see me at the track. If you do, it'll be this blue blur going by to my next location.
Yeah. Look for you on TV. Cole as well. Can we see you down, like should we watch the end of the race and see you down there talking to the drivers?
You might see me down there. I just wanted to add really quick, Devon is the best. I've known him for so many years now. He's had a massive presence in the Valley regards to motorsports for such a long time, and he's been one of the main inspirations for me in getting into the business and taking the leap into journalism. So I gotta thank him for that. He's been tremendous. He puts in the most work I've ever seen about anybody in the industry right now. It really is amazing. I love it. But my work, you could find my work on azcentral.com for the Arizona Republic, or in the paper, physical copies, Arizona Republic. And I always post behind-the-scenes stuff from the track on my social media, Twitter or X now at Cole_Cusumano_. No, it's a tough Italian name there, but yeah, that's a gist of what I do is all the Republic stuff, whether it be online or print, and then behind-the-scenes stuff on social. I also have a NASCAR betting podcast. I don't know if that's something you want to get into, but that's the Money Stop, and we do a pretty good job with that as well.
Who we putting our money on? Let's wrap it up on that because our record's about to run out
an
hour. So
I like that name, the Money Stop. It's good.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, who's the Money Stop putting their money on?
Right now, it's Ryan Blaney. Yeah. I got to do all my research here in a couple hours, but right now we'll go with the number 12 car to repeat.
Yeah.
I don't like making picks, but I know for a fact how cool it would be because I'll be in victory lane, you'll be in victory lane taking a video. How cool would it be to see Michael Jordan hoisting a championship trophy?
That's what I keep saying.
How can you not? I love William Byron. I love Ryan Blaney. He has dirt track blood like I do. I love Joey Logano and what he's done with his kids and his foundation. But holy cow, seeing Michael Jordan raise a championship trophy at a NASCAR track here in Phoenix, that'd be insane. My money for the race is going on Martin Truex Jr. because I'm a purist at heart. I want to see him go out on top. So I want Martin Truex Jr. to win that race.
I like that. Yeah, I'm picking Reddick to win it, I think.
I'm rooting for some sort of rules issue that takes 30 minutes.
Oh man,
I'm not rooting for that.
Odds on that are 10-1.
Yeah.
Bet. I'll take that. Well, hey, good stuff. Thanks for all the passion you put into motorsports, and please come back to the studio next time. Next time there's a race in the Valley in the spring, and let's make this a 2 times a year thing. How about that?
One text away.
Love that.
Thanks for having us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure being here.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Good stuff.
Our pleasure, man.
The Extra Point Podcast is a production of 3TV, CBS5, and azfamily.com in Phoenix, Arizona.